Welcome to Canterbury! As historic as cities get, Canterbury is definitely one of the most historic cities in the UK, with so much of the original architecture from long ago still kind of there, with houses and buildings still kept in traditional architecture from many centuries ago. And the best place to start is obviously with the World Heritage Site, the pilgrimage sites that makes Canterbury so famous. Canterbury has 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and this is our first stop at St Augustine's Abbey. This is a £10.50 entrance fee, and it's open from 10 till 5. And it looks beautiful from the outside, and it's definitely probably worth the admission fee of £10.50. However, we got here kind of late. It's closing, like we're here at 4 o'clock, it's closing at 5 o'clock. We didn't know if we would necessarily have enough time to do everything we want here, so unfortunately we didn't actually go inside, get to see the ruins of the abbey that look absolutely incredible. We wish we had an opportunity to go inside. If you do come here and decide that it is worth the admission fee, I'm sure you'll have a fantastic time looking at this. This is also part of the pilgrimage between the church, the abbey and the cathedral that was very famous a very long time ago. St Martin's Church is on that pilgrimage trip between the abbey, the church, the abbey and the cathedral, and from here you also get fantastic views of the cathedral. Obviously you can't see all of it, it's quite a distance away, but you get really nice views. The church is really old. It's the oldest church in the English-speaking world, which is kind of impressive, which does make it an incredibly old and historic church, which is why it was part of the pilgrimage of these 3 sites. Obviously parts of the church have been remade since its initial construction. However, the architect style is still the same. You still kind of get this really cool, impressive feeling. Unfortunately, we've arrived, it's not open. I don't know if it is ever open or if it's just closed because of how late we got here, but it is very cool to come here and just check around, check out these 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, 3 famous pilgrimage sites, just to complete your trip here in Canterbury. The final part of the pilgrimage that I'm sure people took many times and maybe even still do, Canterbury Cathedral, the gem of Canterbury. If you're going to come here, this cathedral is going to be the reason why most people are traveling here, either on a pilgrimage or checking out the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. But Canterbury Cathedral is just a stunning cathedral. I'm a little bit biased here because this is the cathedral I graduated in. If you're coming here now, you're going to see a lot of it is under construction. Old buildings do tend to fall down, do tend to need to be rebuilt. Unfortunately, they can't stay in that prime condition from when they were built forever. They do need maintenance work. So Canterbury Cathedral is currently getting maintenance work, but a lot of it, I'm sure, is still very much in the style of the architecture from all those years ago. I'm sure there are still remains still from when the cathedral was first built, and the cathedral is absolutely gorgeous. The entrance to it, when you open the doors and you just get this incredible view, it's just mind-blowing. It kind of blows you away. It was about 16 to 17 pounds to enter. You kind of get a year ticket, but honestly most people aren't going to be needing that year ticket. You're just kind of going to be having it for that one trip, and I would say it's worth it considering this is the reason why most people are most likely to come here to Canterbury, and the reason Canterbury's sort of on the map. And then when you're checking out the cathedral inside, obviously spectacular inside. Sometimes you'll hear a speech, but also don't forget to check out around the ground. This is a massive area. Like, you go around the grounds, you can see lots of different parts. There's some ruins, ancient ruins from an infirmary. Out back there's a memorial section. It's just like, so you don't only go into the cathedral and then go to the gift shop. Make sure you go around the entirety of the cathedral, as there's a lot here to look at that isn't just in the cathedral. I'm always blown about, even though I studied here, this cathedral always blows me away every time I see it, and an absolutely fantastic stop here when exploring Canterbury. Westgate Park is the absolute perfect picnic location and a very Instagrammable location. Obviously we got this absolutely giant tree. I'm not sure what kind of tree it is, but it is it's an absolute beast of a tree that is very famous and very Instagrammable here. Lots of people take photos of it. And just around the side, there is a beautiful garden area, which lots of people also want to take photos of. Maybe one of the most photographed places here in Canterbury. And it's right next to Westgate Tower. So you kind of got this location perfectly just on the edge of Canterbury, right near near the station as well. So if you're coming on here, you can just stop here in the park and eventually walk down the street. This is definitely one of the top places to visit when coming here to Canterbury. What else you can do in Canterbury is take a walk along the city walls. Usually you would have to do this just to get from A to B or South Canterbury to town. If you're coming into one of the stations, which is very close to the city walls, you'll tend to walk along the city wall to get to the middle of town. So taking a walk along the historic walls and seeing it from, I guess, opposite the road as well, will be a great thing to do to see the architecture of it. It's not quite as grand as the Great Wall of China, but you know, it's still a pretty historic wall and definitely a great part of the city. Obviously, one of the best things about Canterbury is that all these historic and amazing locations to see are all together. They're all within walking distance. And one of the more interesting and unique buildings here in Canterbury will be the Crooked House. Its architecture is, I guess, kind of unique, which is kind of what makes it a little bit more interesting. It's now been turned into a bookshop, I believe. It was closed when we went there, but it's definitely nice to go there, take a few Instagram photos, maybe have a look inside to support the local business that is there. But it's definitely a nice architectural design to go and check out whilst you're here in Canterbury, along with all the other historical sites that are here. One of the most photographed buildings is the Old Weaver's House. It claims to be a very old building. I can't necessarily say whether it is or isn't, but it's definitely worth checking out, taking that look down the river where you'll see the famous photo of wherever that is taken. It's now an Italian restaurant, so potentially eat there as well in the evening. And it's great that all these sort of old buildings around Canterbury are still in use today. They've been turned into modern restaurants or some form of shop to still keep the old architecture alive whilst, you know, making them more modern on the inside, which is one of the reasons why I love Canterbury so much. So much fantastic architecture and buildings there that are still in use today. And just walking along the high street, there are so many sort of like famous locations and so many buildings to visit. For there's like a really old hospital there, which you can take tours around. There's the old sort of clock tower right at the one end of the high street. And a lot of some of the bars and stuff are also in very interesting buildings. So there's just so much to do along this street, so much to see just walking down the high street, as well as there being sort of like a modern area that's built for you to do some extra shopping. Canterbury is a great location to do some shopping generally. Modern clothes shops, cafes, restaurants around. To walk up and down this high street, check out the buildings, do some shopping is definitely going to be one of the things that you're going to want to do when you're here in Canterbury, because it's all kind of in one area, one location, which makes it absolutely fantastic. And not when you're coming to explore all these ancient locations that you're going all over the city just to visit them all. This one is so easy just to check everything out in one place. Now, Canterbury Castle, a very old castle, would be fantastic to see and sort of go inside and see it. And the castle has kind of been falling down for a long time, not really knowing what to do with it. It's not really much of a castle anymore. It's just kind of ruins. But finally, they are now kind of doing work on it. I'm not sure what exactly is happening, but the castle is kind of being refurbished, hopefully. But there's lots of scaffolding all over the castle. It would definitely be worth visiting if you could, but at the moment it's kind of out of bounds because it's a historical part of Canterbury that's been there for hundreds of years, and hopefully it can remain there. But definitely worth checking out once all the scaffolding's gone anyway, and maybe even worth checking out with the scaffolding just so you can see the old stones and how it was built back in the day. So hotels in Canterbury can be very expensive. This is a super popular tourist destination, and of course it's England. England is very expensive. A lot of the hotels around here are going to cost you over £100 a night, but you can get some really fancy hotels. There's the Abode Hotel right in the middle of Canterbury. Super expensive, but super looks incredible. They also have a Hilton here, maybe one of the smallest Hiltons in the world. Be interested to check that out. And then you can have your other hotels from your hostels, maybe some Airbnb styles, places you can stay in, which will still be quite on the expensive side. When we was researching here about Canterbury, that if you go to the hotel's website, you can get deals. You can get it cheaper than, say, if you were booking it through one of the websites or one of the apps. So we did that. We went onto the website for the hotel, and we did manage to get it cheaper than it was on the apps. So we got ours for about £80 a night, which for many people is still going to be expensive. But this is Canterbury, and this is actually, we're staying here on a Monday night in non-peak time, really. It is July, but I wouldn't really say this is peak time. Kids are still at school. Universities have finished, but students from secondary school, primary school are still in school, so it's not really peak time yet. So it is still quite expensive, and when you're going into peak time, I'm sure it's going to be even more expensive. That hotel here is right opposite the castle, which is fantastic, and it does look quite traditional. It looks like a very old building, and it's just kind of been refurbished. The guy in the hotel was really friendly, really helpful. He answered some of our questions for us, and the hotel has some nice, a little lounge area. It's a bed and breakfast, so we do have a free breakfast in the morning, and we get a free car parking space, which is always fantastic, so we can just leave our car here and go around and explore. Final thoughts on the hotel. It done its job. We had a bed, we managed to sleep here, had a perfectly good sleep, so no problems there. Bed was comfortable. Shower had one temperature, extremely hot. Breakfast, they did deliver breakfast. It was mostly just carbs. There was some fruit there, but it was mostly like rolls, croissants, toast, nothing special, basic breakfast, but at least you get some food. It is probably one of the cheapest ones here in Canterbury, so overall it's probably one of the better places to stay. There are fancier hotels, but there are also cheaper ones, like more like hostel or maybe some better Airbnb style. Now, obviously, I'm all about trying to get the best cultural experience you possibly can when you go traveling. And one place to do that is to eat local food and drink. Now, Canterbury doesn't have too much of its own unique culinary dishes. One of the ones that was mentioned would have been the Canterbury tart or the gypsy tart. However, when I was there, we went into many cafes and many pastry shops, and we didn't see this anywhere. So if it's not really found in these locations, it's maybe not that popular. So you're not going to really be able to try the tradition, or this traditional dish has just kind of disappeared, and it's sadly no longer really available much. So you might find a hard time trying to get the local culinary food here. We did try and find Kentish Hifkins as well. Now, we thought these were famous for them meant to have like a thumbprint in the middle of the dough as they were being prepared. So we went to this one restaurant, Tiny Tim's Tea Room, which said they had Kentish Hifkins, but obviously when we got there, we ordered them. They're just like normal burger buns, so it didn't really have anything specific about it to say that this is the Kentish Hifkins. But the tea room was very delicious. If you want to go there and I guess try maybe locally grown food, perhaps at least. Canterbury is more famous for growing fruits like strawberries, apples, cherries. Are kind of all grown around the Kent area. So if you're buying these from local shops, there's a good chance you're going to be eating some local produce. So maybe that's the best way to have a taste of Canterbury, or a taste of Kent. But there will be countless ales everywhere in the UK, so there's always worth trying to, when you're coming somewhere, to try and find the local ale. In Canterbury, there's this bar called The Foundry, and we went into The Foundry, and they make all their own ales and alcohol inside the bar, and they have a whole array of different ales to try, and as well as other drinks. I got an ale, I can't remember the name of it now, but I will show you the name on the video, and it was a very delicious and very refreshing drink. Felicity decided to go hardcore and try their whiskey, and she said that it was very good. I'm not a whiskey drinker, so I can't confirm, but Felicity said that their whiskey was fantastic. So this is a great way to support a local bar, have a taste of local ales, which is obviously going to be one of the most famous things you can do here, or one of the most cultural things you can do here in the UK, is to try a local ale. One of the most popular ways to get to Canterbury will be by train or by coach. You can either get a coach down from somewhere in London, or you can get a train from somewhere in London. The reason I say somewhere is because we drove down. Whether you're driving, taking a coach, or taking a train, it's not going to be that long of a journey, especially if your journey is starting in London. If your journey is starting in Scotland, then yeah, it's going to take you a while. But the drive from London to Canterbury is just over an hour. And then once you're here in Canterbury, getting around is definitely best by walking. Of course, there are buses and taxis around, but you really won't need them unless you're booking your hotel far away and you need to get a bus or a taxi into the town. Canterbury can be an absolutely fantastic day trip. However, some of the locations are pretty big. We didn't have time to check out the Roman Museum, for example, and the cathedral alone will take you several hours. And then if you want to visit the other pilgrimage sites, that could also take time as well. And then if you want to eat locally, grab some drinks, visit Westgate, walk along the wall, check out all the other architectural interesting places within Canterbury. This is all going to take a little bit of time. It can be done in one day if you're very quick, or if you decide to miss some things out. Other than that, I would recommend Canterbury being like 2 nights, so that you at least have 1 full day here. Can be done quicker. if you really want to take your time exploring Canterbury, then you would need that extra night here. Canterbury is probably my favourite place in the UK, mostly because it's my university town, little bias there. Absolutely love Canterbury. I consider it a must visit as a great place to experience English culture and to see an old English city that's adapted quite well to being a modern city as well. I could easily talk about Canterbury all day, but that's all I'm going to say for today. As we say in the UK, see you later, mate.